We did DNA barcoding for the identification of consumer-relevant fungi sold in New York, mushrooms that you buy in the store to cook with. And we wanted to see if they had been mislabeled at all, or switch for something cheaper or easier to find.
We set out to find a phage, so a virus that could possibly kill harmful bacteria, and that is important in an age where antibiotics are becoming obsolete.
We were trying to find the correlation between economic disadvantage and biodiversity.
So our project has to do with concentrations of algae within bodies of water in New York City, and we want to correlate that with biodiversity within the city to see whether or not there was a positive or negative relationship between presence of algae and a lot of animals and plants being in the area.
How everyday things affect the pollution, which also in fact correlates to the biodiversity of not only ant species but also the human race.
We just saw if there was any correlation between the foregut contents of marine snails and the presence of a venom apparatus.
To determine whether or not Dong Quai is actually in the products that advertise its usage.
It's really hard to get, and the fact that these drugs that have directly state Dong Quai in the store and they're only $10, it really makes you question what you're paying for.
Biodiversity of earthworms within the soil, and we found correlations between the species of earthworms and the fertility of the soil and the vitality of the plant life.
This is pretty much our first big project that we've done.
Yeah, it is my first science research experience.
It was part of the class, and it was also part of a research thing.
This is actually a lot more advanced than the science research in my school because you actually get a real lab experience.
I have been in science research club and science research class throughout my entire high school career. However, I have not done hands-on research. I have read articles, and it was finally my time to do research of my own.
In school, you can't really pick what you do, but I was able to do something I was interested in, fortunately enough. And also, I just look forward to going to our meetings every Monday or Tuesday. I don't look forward to going to chem class every day.
It's just an amazing thing for people to be able to get out of their school and research and really introduce us to the field of science. I just think it's an amazing opportunity for people.
I never thought I could understand any of this. This right here, I was like, what even is that?
This experience was we got to use a PCR machine, gel electrophoresis, hands-on, with really a mentor, which gave us the freedom to really explore. I don't know, it's really interesting, and we kind of got to be like scientists and researchers, which was a lot of fun. And we got to take our knowledge from AP Bio and bring it to life, which was a lot of fun.
Not only just with science, but also with public speaking. That also helps us as we present our experiment and talk to other people about how our experience was with this.
Presenting as well, because I get very nervous. My face turns red and I stammer, but I feel like I can really explain my poster, and I feel like I've explained it well, and people understand me, and I think that really helped me.
When we had to make the proposal, now I know how to do proposals for the future for any projects I might have in college.
A lot of other labs are just, the purpose is learning, but this project had a purpose outside of learning, even though we did learn a lot from the experience and gained a lot of valuable knowledge about the scientific process and DNA barcoding. But in addition to that, you get the value of actually making a difference and helping out in the community.
They gave me something to love about science, and they allowed me to test my own questions, and that was important for me.
I feel like I can really tackle harder, scientific topics now, and I feel like I understand how working with a mentor is, and how you how you speak to them, how you get with communication.
My favorite part was getting results that we didn't expect, and results that we were not initially anticipated for, and coming up with new questions. So being able to come up with new questions after we failed was something I learned and appreciate.
Coming into it, I didn't exactly expect to find anything incriminating, but we actually did figure out that one of the drugs actually contained coriander instead of Dong Quai. So I just think it was interesting how it all folded out.
I had to rely on myself in order to do it correctly, and it was it definitely gave me a sense of responsibility over the data that I was collecting, because if I didn't do something right, then that would mess up everything else.
The DNA subway itself is a very interesting thing. The whole entire interface of just putting your stuff in and blasting the whole entire thing. I mean, we use this blast for AP Bio for in the lab, but to actually see whoa, our samples actually match with something, and the surprising part, the enlightening part that, hey, our sample actually matched, or we don't have to struggle with something.
I know if I'm going to pursue a PhD, what it's like more now. And I know that if I decide to pursue a career as a scientist, I know more of what it's like.
It was a really fun experience for me to understand that, to understand the things that I'm capable of in terms of science research and how independent I can be in that sense.
I really enjoyed just working with the group and working on something we're really passionate about.
My advice is to pick something you're actually interested in.
Start early, start as early as possible, because you don't want to go out in the worst weathers and get stuck not being able to find samples.
Don't be afraid to ask your mentor questions and really try to keep up your communication.
Scientific mentors, when you go into the process, they're cool. They're everyday people. So if you have questions, if you have concerns, address them. Tell them your concerns. Tell them that you're a little worried about the project, and don't be afraid to be wrong, because you will be wrong in the field of science, and it's important to realize that, and nobody's perfect and no experiment is perfect.
Science isn't necessarily something that, it takes very short time to do. It's very tedious, it's long, sometimes it can be extremely frustrating, but at the end you get some results, and you have to be happy with what you have.